When an HOA tyrant calls the cops on a man for parking in his own driveway, she thinks she's won. But one salute, one badge, and one truth about who he really is will turn her petty war into a federal reckoning. She called the cops on me for parking on my own driveway. It was 6:47 a.m. Two patrol cars with lights flashing pulled up, my muddy F-250 sitting right there on my concrete pad, fully on my property, and Connie Rettel standing on the sidewalk, arms crossed, wearing that smirk like she'd already won. When the officer stepped out, she pointed right at me and said, "I pay your salary. Arrest him." Right there, I knew this wasn't about a truck blocking her view. This was about power, control, the kind of small-town tyranny that crushes good people every single day. But Connie made one mistake, one critical miscalculation. She had no idea I'm a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army. 23 years dismantling threats a lot more dangerous than a suburban HOA dictator. My name is Vance Hartwick, Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Army Intelligence, 23 years active duty, now transitioned to reserve status. 1 week in a month, keeping my hand in. After 2 decades of base housing, moving every 18 months, sleeping in places where mortars were the alarm clock, I finally bought my first piece of real land. 4 acres in Pinewood Estates, Colorado. Trees, space, quiet. My wife, Marina, an ICU nurse tougher than half the soldiers I commanded, was thrilled. Our son was at West Point, our daughter studying engineering at CU Boulder. This was supposed to be our peaceful chapter. Every morning, I'd pour black coffee from my stainless percolator, step onto the porch, and just listen. The crunch of frost on gravel under my boots, the smell of pine resin mixing with diesel exhaust from my truck. Cold air that didn't taste like sand or burning oil. It was perfect for about 8 weeks. Pinewood Estates is 47 homes tucked into the hills outside Colorado Springs. A mix of retirees and young families with a voluntary HOA. No legal teeth, just a handful of people who like organizing block parties and arguing about mailbox colors. Then there's Connie Rettel, 52, vice president of the HOA, married to Garrett, a real estate attorney who's never home. No kids, living in the biggest house on the corner lot with landscaping so perfect it looks like it was installed by a surgeon. Her lawn always smells like chemical fertilizer, sharp and acrid. She does evening patrols in heels that click on the asphalt like a countdown timer. Click, click, click. She uses the HOA like a personal fiefdom. Everything about property values and community standards, but if you listen close, it's code for something uglier. Comments about transient renters, the Hispanic family 3 doors down, calling veterans' work vans clutter. You get the picture. 2 weeks after we moved in, Connie knocked with a welcome packet, smiled, shook my hand, then waited while I flipped through it. She'd highlighted one section in yellow. Vehicles over 6,000 pounds should be garaged or parked behind a fence line. My truck is 6,400 pounds. I looked up. She was still smiling. "Just a courtesy reminder," she said. "We like to keep things tidy." I nodded, closed the door. Marina, watching from the kitchen, said, "That woman's going to be a problem." She was right. 12 weeks in, I came back from a weekend drill covered in mud after field exercises, 0 sleep, the kind of training that keeps you sharp. My truck looked like it had been through a war zone, because in a way it had. I parked it on my driveway, my paved concrete apron 10 feet from the street, completely on my property, and planned to wash it that afternoon. Sunday morning, 7 a.m., Connie knocked. I opened the door mid-sip of coffee. "That truck needs to be moved immediately," she said, pointing like it was a dead animal. "It's an eyesore." I kept my voice level. "It's on my property, ma'am. I'll wash it this afternoon." Her face went red, not pink red, and she said, "We'll see about that," then turned and walked away, heels clicking double time. Marina called from the kitchen. "Told you." Monday morning, 6:45. I'm pouring my second coffee when I see the lights. 2 sheriff's patrol cars rolling up slow, Connie on the sidewalk pointing at my truck like she's directing an airstrike. The 2 deputies stepped out, young guys, professional mid-30s. The taller one, named Plate Kraus, spotted the military decal on my truck's rear window, then looked at me in my Army PT shirt, and I watched his shoulders relax just a fraction. "Morning, sir," he said. "We got a call about an illegally parked vehicle blocking access." He glanced at my truck, the wide-open street, back at me with a look that said he already knew this was a waste of time. On my own driveway, I said, tone even and friendly. Kraus sighed, pulled out his notepad, checked the property line with his eyes, measured the distance, then called over to Connie. Ma'am, the vehicle is entirely on private property. There's no violation here. Connie's voice carried sharp and indignant. I want a report filed. He's violating covenant standards. This is a voluntary community, and he's refusing to comply. Kraus walked back, fighting the urge to roll his eyes. Sir, we're clearing this as unfounded. Have a good day. He handed me a card with the incident number, nodded, and they pulled away. As they left, I felt that familiar prickle of adrenaline at the base of my skull. The same feeling I get 30 seconds before a mission briefing when the intel was about to get complicated. That evening, my inbox pinged with an email from Dale Patton, HOA president, 68, retired insurance adjuster, the kind who'd apologize for winning a poker hand. Subject, courtesy reminder, vehicle placement. The body was pure corporate vagueness about aesthetics and voluntary compliance, but Dale had CC'd the entire street, 18 households. Marina read it over my shoulder. She's building a paper trail. She was right. I replied to all, short and factual. Cited my property survey, noted no enforceable covenant per county records, attached a PDF of my plat map showing property lines clear as day. Next morning, I walked out for the newspaper and found an orange traffic cone at the edge of my driveway. Not mine. Security camera footage from overnight. 11 p.m. Silver Lexus pulls up, passenger door opens, Garrett Rettle steps out, places the cone, drives off in 40 seconds. I picked it up, walked 3 houses down, set it on Connie's pristine porch with a handwritten note underneath. Believe you dropped this. V. Marina saw me walking back and shook her head. You're poking the bear. Bear poked first, I replied. That afternoon, a county code enforcement truck pulled in. Raul Espinoza, mid-40s, county polo shirt, expression of a man who'd seen every stupid neighbor dispute. Mr. Hartwick got a complaint about unpermitted grading work. I shook my head. No earth moving since buying 8 months ago. Raul walked the property line, checked drainage, came back shaking his head. Man, I am sorry. This is the 5th bogus call from this street this month. Somebody's got way too much time on their hands. I offered coffee. We stood on the porch while he vented. Then he gave me gold. You can request your own property inspection report from the county for $15. Shows every complaint against your address going back years. I've seen guys use it to prove harassment patterns if things go sideways. He wrote the department number on his card. I filed the request that afternoon. $15 felt like the best money I'd spend all year. 3 days later, cars started slowing in front of my house. Connie had circulated a petition, Voluntary Covenant Enforcement Initiative, door to door, framing it as protecting property values, blaming a slight dip in appraisals on commercial vehicles and non-conforming maintenance, code for my truck and the veteran's work van 2 streets over. She got 11 signatures out of 47, mostly retirees who signed without details. Then the anonymous letter arrived in my mailbox. No stamp, no return address, single sheet in Times New Roman. Military types think they're above the rules. Sell and move to base housing where you belong. Marina found it after her hospital shift. Her face went from confused to furious in 3 seconds. I held it to the light, caught the faint lavender scent of Connie's expensive hand lotion, the kind that announces her presence 5 seconds before she entered the room. Marina had mentioned it after a block party, said it smelled like a funeral home. I slipped the letter into a plastic sleeve, added it to my growing folder between orange cone photos and bogus code complaints. The following Tuesday, Marina came home from night shift, shaking with anger I'd rarely seen. Her car got a parking ticket while legally parked in a 2-hour zone that lifted after 6 p.m. Bogus, dismissed in 48 hours, but the stress after a 12-hour shift where she'd lost 2 patients left her exhausted. 3 days later, her hospital got an anonymous call. ICU nurse on night shift showing up intoxicated, describing Marina's shift, unit, car color. Hospital investigated. Mandatory policy. Cleared in hours after blood tests and interviews. But the humiliation of being pulled off the floor and questioned in front of colleagues devastated her. She stood in our kitchen in scrubs, tears running. She came after my job, Vance. She called my hospital and tried to get me fired. I felt my jaw tighten. The shift from husband to operator mode Marina recognized from every deployment. I need to make some calls, I said. She nodded, poured tea, burned her down. I reached out to Captain Lynette Torin, old JAG buddy. She listened then. First, your neighbor's an idiot. Second, false reports to your wife's employer. That's tortious interference. You could sue her into next Tuesday. But her advice, document everything, create a paper trail, file a harassment report with the sheriff. Even if nothing immediate, courts love timelines. If she escalates, pattern evidence is gold. I filed with Deputy Krause the next morning. He took it seriously, flagged it. Lynette added, HOAs registered as nonprofits in Colorado must make financial records public. $50, 2 weeks. I've seen cases where board members use funds like personal piggy banks. If there's funny money, that's leverage. I submitted the request that afternoon. Another $50 well spent. 2 weeks later, Connie called an emergency HOA meeting with 24 hours notice. Most couldn't attend. 19 showed up anyway. Agenda vague. Discuss enforcement mechanisms. Connie had a slideshow projected on the community center wall. Photos of my truck from angles, survey stakes, my security cameras. She pushed voluntary $100 fines per violation and hiring private security, $40/month per household. I sat in the back, arms crossed, quietly impressed by her commitment to pettiness. 20 slides, bar graphs on declining values, all because she didn't like my truck. Halfway through, Marcus Tillman, postal worker, early 50s for houses down, raised his hand. Connie, this feels personal. His truck's on his property. Why do we care? Connie's face tightened. Because people like him don't respect community standards. The people like him landed like a grenade. Temperature dropped 20 degrees. Dale cleared his throat. Maybe table this for another time. Connie glared at me as people filed out. You think you're untouchable. I just smiled and walked into the cool evening air smelling of fresh asphalt and cut grass. That night, Marina and I went through the HOA financial records that arrived days earlier. 18 months of expenses on cheap paper. Problems jumped out. Connie billed $8,400 in vague administrative expenses, office supplies, consulting fees, outreach materials. One entry, $1,200 to Garrett's law firm for covenant review services. Her husband billing the HOA for work he should have done free as a board spouse's spouse. Marina, who managed ICU budgets for 15 years, circled 3 entries in red. This is self-dealing. Nonprofits can't pay board members or family without full board approval and disclosure. No vote in the minutes. Colorado law confirmed it. Conflict of interest required disclosure and vote. No record existed. Next morning, Marcus caught me at the mailbox. I've lived here 9 years. Connie's run off 3 families I know of. Always noise complaints, maintenance, whatever. But it's never the white folks. You noticed that. He shared stories. Noise complaints against him for music he didn't play. Animal control in the Hispanic family's beagle as vicious. Veteran's van reported abandoned 3 times until sheriff told her stop. If you're building something to push back, count me in. Tired of good people leaving because one woman thinks she runs the neighborhood. I shook his hand. I'll be in touch. I couldn't sleep that night. Around 2 a.m., at the kitchen table with my laptop, I dug through public county records like old intel reports, property records, tax assessments, court filings. Starting with Connie and Garrett's address. $47,000 in unpaid property tax liens going back 2 years. Foreclosure paused via hardship application 6 months ago. Cross-referenced court records. Malpractice settlement 8 months earlier. Garrett's firm paid $230,000 to a client screwed in a real estate deal. The picture snapped into focus. Connie wasn't obsessed with property values for the neighborhood. She was terrified her own financial collapse would expose her as a fraud. Every complaint, petition, meeting was projection, dragging others down to feel less alone in free fall. Almost sad, the way desperate people grab at anything. Marina came downstairs in her bathrobe, saw my mission face. You found something. I turned the screen to the tax lien. She's broke. House underwater. Garrett's firm bleeding. She's running a shell game with cones and petitions to distract from being 6 months from losing everything. Marina read, expression shifting to pity. Even for someone trying to destroy us, she saw the human. Are you going to use this? Not directly. Too crude. Makes me look vindictive. But if she's this desperate, she'll overplay. I want to be ready. I'd learned in 23 years of military intelligence, best way to defeat an enemy isn't direct attack on weakness. Give just enough pressure so they panic, make mistakes while you document. Over the next week, small deliberate moves. Park my truck prominently every day, washed and waxed, gleaming like a monument. Installed a flagpole exactly 6 feet from the property line. Permitted, flew the American flag raised at dawn, lowered at dusk with military precision. A statement. Added a big decorative boulder near the line, visible from Connie's kitchen window every morning over coffee. Everything legal, permitted where needed, asserting, this is my property. I earned it through decades of service. No pe tijeras moves me. Within 3 days, I saw her pacing her driveway on the phone, gesturing wildly, voice carrying angry fragments across the street. Marina watched one evening while I grilled chicken. Barbecue, smoke mixing with pine air. You're poking the bear. I flipped abreast. I'm giving her rope. Desperate people don't de-escalate when cornered. They double down, thrash, make mistakes that turn disputes into court cases. I was counting on it. 2 days after the flagpole, Marcus showed up with a 6-pack and grim expression. On my back porch, out of Connie's view, talked to Yolanda Sims and Gil Farnsworth. They want in. Connie's been after them too. Yolanda, single mom, teacher, had her backyard trampoline reported as unsafe nuisance. County inspector scared her before clearing it. Gil, 71, Korean War vet, forced to remove a memorial flagpole for imaginary height restriction. What's the play? Marcus asked. I appreciated no small talk. He knew people like Connie don't stop until stopped. We met at my kitchen table Saturday morning. 4 of us, coffee, Marina, taking notes. Pattern emerged. Connie targeted those not fitting her vision. Blue-collar, darker skin, older cars, using HOA as weapon to exhaust and drive out. We're not breaking rules, I said, spreading financial records. We're using them. Everything by the book, documented legal. Show the $8,400 vague expenses, $1,200 unauthorized to Garrett's firm. Expressions shifted from anger to hope. This wasn't just surviving harassment. It was accountability. Plan like a military op. Objective, resources, execute precisely. First, file formal complaint with Colorado Secretary of State on HOA, financial irregularities, self-dealing removable offense. Marcus volunteered to file, kept my name off initial paperwork, harder to claim retaliation. Second, petition for special HOA meeting. Bylaws allow if 20%, 10 of 47 sign. We had 4. Gil knew 5 more, Yolanda 3. Third, prepare presentation. Facts only, no emotion, financial mismanagement. Call for immediate board recall. Fourth, invite media. Local Pinewood Gazette loved HOA abuse stories. Yolanda had a contact. Gil, quiet till then. You really think this will work? Weight of a man who'd fought one war overseas, didn't want another at home. It'll work, I said, because people like Connie rely on everyone being too tired or scared. Moment someone pushes back, it collapses. Marcus raised his beer. To collapsing houses of cards. We drank to that. After they left, Marina wrapped arms around me at the sink. Why not just move? Sell, find peaceful, start over. I turned. I spent 20 years in places where warlords controlled through fear. Not letting it happen on my street. Our kids are watching West Point Engineering. I want them to see you don't run from bullies. You stand, fight with truth and law. She kissed my forehead. Then let's fight. Week before meeting, woke 5:30 a.m. Coffee, newspaper, truck sitting lower. All 4 tires slashed, clean sidewall cuts, deliberate, personal, $800 fix. Bare feet in driveway, cold breath visible, old anger rose, cold calculating. Security footage, 2:17 a.m. Dark hoodie figure, new camera locations, face obscured. Filed police report. Kraus arrived tired, watched footage, noted, photographed. Height and gait consistent with neighbor, but no clear face, can't stick charges. Need more. I handed printed 4-month timeline. False calls, code harassment, hospital complaint, letter, now vandalism. He flipped through. Keep documenting. If she escalates, and she will, you'll have restraining order material at minimum. Insurance covered tires, not the point. Point. Connie crossed to property destruction, panicking, making mistakes I'd waited for. 3 days later, smear campaign. Fake Facebook profile concerned Pinewood resident, posted in neighborhood group. New neighbor aggressive military type, threatens families, surveils children with cameras, violent history. Vague enough to dodge libel. Specific enough everyone knew it was me. Posts shared before profile, 3 days old, no history, flagged/deleted. Yolanda caught screenshots, called furious. I read them, felt twist. Not for me, but Marina and kids. Rumors can linger years. That evening, son called from West Point, edge and voice. Dad, someone tagged me, saying you're threatening people. What's going on? Explained clearly. Escalating harassment. Fake profile. He was quiet. You always told me document everything, let truth speak. Are you doing that? I smiled. My advice reflected back by a man he'd become. I am. When over, I'll show exactly how. Someday you'll deal with this. Fight lies with facts. Patience. Let enemy destroy themselves. Printed screenshots, added to file. Stopped reacting emotionally, became another operation, another mission. Special meeting in 2 days, dossier complete. Timeline, photos, financials, witness statements, spiral bound. Connie preparing her defense. Not realizing she'd lost, deciding to fight facts with feelings. 3 days before, Dale emailed 10 p.m. Sunday. Meeting postponed indefinitely. Unforeseen conflicts, legal concerns. Called his cell, rang 6 times. Voice dreading. Dale, who told you to cancel? Long pause, TV laugh track in background, surreal. Connie said legal concerns. Garrett reviewed bylaws. Liability if proceed without proper notice. Cut him off. Bylaws require hold within 14 days of valid 20% petition. We gave 11 signatures, 23%. Don't hold. Any homeowner sues board for breach of fiduciary duty. I've got attorney on standby. Bluff. No attorney standby, but Dale didn't know. Breathing heavy, mental math. Lawsuit cost versus easier to let happen. Phoenix. Thursday, 7 p.m. Community Center. Corrected notice morning. Thursday arrived. Nervous energy like pre-mission briefings. By 6:30, parking lot filling. 41 of 47 RSVP'd. Unprecedented. Walked in with Marina, Marcus, Gil, Yolanda behind. Weight like patrol gear. Heavy necessary. Room smelled burnt coffee, sharp floor wax. Metal chairs creaked as people settled, phones out to record. Connie early, table front with expensive paper packets, color tabs, desperate over prep. Navy blazer, pearls, hair, / makeup perfect, glancing at door counting votes. Garrett beside, uncomfortable suit, scrolling phone. Deputy Kraus back corner. Requested presence for security / official witness. Small nod. Jenna Carlson, Pinewood Gazette, back row with notepad / recorder. Story in print by Sunday. Narrative uncontrollable. Dale called to order, trembling gavel, monotone procedural read. Special meeting pursuant to Article 7, Section 3. Address concerns board governance, financial management. Cleared throat. Looked at Connie, maybe apology in eyes. Miss Rettel, as petitioner for enforcement, you have floor first. Connie stood, smooth blazer, launch prepared statement. Volunteer board members work tirelessly, attacked by newcomers not understanding values. Detached fascination. like watching enemy justify during interrogations. Every word more evidence. Marcus stood mid-paragraph. Point of order. She's lying, and everyone knows it. Gasps, murmurs. Dale banged gavel twice, panicked. Connie pale then red, hands shaking on podium. Excuse me, I'm a volunteer who has dedicated. Marcus cut. Dedicated 4 years harassing people who don't fit your idea of neighborhood. We're done pretending. Dale helpless. Mr. Hartwick, you called meeting, you have floor. I walked front with cardboard box of spiral-bound dossiers, handed row by row in silence broken by page flips, occasional oh my God. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Vance Hartwick, U.S. Army Reserve. 23 years serving this country. Moved here 8 months ago for peace after war zones. Instead, systematic harassment. Wife's career threatened. Property vandalized. All because one person decided my truck and job didn't meet her standards. Clicked remote, projector lit. Timeline from welcome packet to slash tires. This isn't community standards. It's abuse of power. Advanced to fake Facebook posts. Room dead silent. Reading dossiers screen. Then Connie, face white, gripping Garrett's arm. Next slide. Financials. $8, $400 unexplained, $1,200 to Garrett's firm. Bylaws require disclose family payments. Full board conflict vote. No such vote in minutes. Miss Reddle funneled association funds to husband's failing firm without authorization. Connie cracked. This is slander. Garrett, do something. Garrett quiet, resigned. Connie, stop talking. Please just stop. Room erupted whispers. Held hand up, quieted. Filed formal complaint with Colorado Secretary of State Nonprofit Division this morning. They'll audit. If what I think, consequences. But not why here tonight. Turn to room. You elected board to serve community. Instead, serving themselves, using rules as weapons against anyone they don't like. Marcus harassed. Gil harassed. Yolanda harassed. Montoya, family harassed. Stops tonight. Paused. Move immediate recall vote of entire board, effective immediately. New elections within 30 days. Woman third row, I second. Dale mechanical, discussion, none. Vote. All in favor of recall. 38 hands. Connie stood abruptly, grabbed purse, walked out. Garrett followed. Metal door slammed. Final, irreversible. After, people filtered out. Jenna caught me by truck. What do you want people to know? Thought second. HOAs aren't inherently bad. They serve purpose. But unchecked power corrupts. When board uses position to settle scores instead of serving, homeowners get involved, ask questions, demand transparency. Asked about military background role, not about rank or training. About doing right, not backing down to bullies. Anyone could do what I did. Willing to work, trust truth matters. She snapped photo. Me with Marina, Marcus, Gil, Yolanda under streetlights. Tired but smiling. Hoped it inspired someone facing petty tyrant to stand up. New board elected following week. Neighbors showed to vote in election that mattered. Marcus president, 42 votes. Yolanda treasurer, Gil secretary. 3 most targeted now running organization she'd weaponized 4 years. I declined joining. Just homeowner wanting coffee on porch. Sunrise without drama. Marcus laughed. Exactly why we wanted you, but understand. State audit 3 weeks later. Confirmed $8,400 improperly documented. $1,200 unauthorized. Recommended reimbursement. Referral to prosecutors for potential fraud. Connie/Garrett listed house 2 days after public. Gone within 60 days. Sold $30,000 under asking to escape before foreclosure resumed. Never pressed charges for tires/harassment. No point dragging went over. Kraus later. Reports on file likely prevented repeats elsewhere. Background checks would find pattern. New board's first act. Dissolve voluntary fines. Redirect to real community. Quarterly barbecues. Holiday lights contest. No judging, just celebrating. Real neighborhood watch for safety, not landscaping surveillance. Marcus proposed Pinewood Unity Scholarship. $500/year for local high schooler in public service. Teaching, nursing, military, social work. First fundraiser. Pancake breakfast, 43 families, $2,100 raised one morning. Me at griddle flipping pancakes, Marina pouring coffee, kids soccer behind center, buttermilk batter, maple syrup, laughter, soccer thump. First time Pinewood felt like community, not battlefield. Yolanda's daughter won scholarship 2 years later, enrolled nursing school. Watching Yolanda's happy tears at ceremony reminded why it mattered. Good people deserve neighborhoods without fear. 6 months later, son graduated West Point. Pulled me aside. Dad, remember Connie's online posts? I called worried. You said courage isn't loud. Methodical, patient. Let's truth talk. Think about that every day. Proudest moment. Dealing with nightmare taught integrity he'd carry as officer. Hosted dinner after Marina's cooking, daughter home. Invited Marcus/family, Gil, Yolanda/daughter, new neighbors in Connie's old house. Young couple, baby nice. Asked to join watch. Truck and driveway, washed, waxed. No word about it. Just a truck. How it should have been. Later, cleaning kitchen with Marina. Did you mean what told newspaper anyone could do what I did? Dry plate. Yeah. Only special thing. Stubbornness, filing system. Everything else, records, bylaws, documentation, available to anyone willing homework. She smiled, kissed cheek. No, Gil's neighbor 2 streets over dealing similar. Developer eminent domain for strip mall. Raised eyebrow. Is that so? She laughed, new tone, already reviewing eminent domain law, thinking calls. You can't help yourself, can you? Somebody's got to stand up to bullies. Might as well be someone who knows how. So if you're dealing with HOA nightmare, board member thinking they run neighborhood, busybody filing complaints, petty tyrant using rules as weapons, drop your story in comments. Worst one featured next week's video. Maybe help find solution. Nobody should live in fear and own home. If you love bullies outsmarted by people refusing to back down, subscribe. More stories every Tuesday. Quiet professionalism beats loud tyranny every time. Thanks for watching. See you next.